Let's be honest. Being the villain of a story is more like a curse, as everyone, including most of the viewers, expects, or rather wants, you to lose at the end. However, in DreamWorks, this gets even worse, as most DreamWorks villains don't lose because they're dumb or weak. They lose because the story quietly changes the rules when things stop going the hero's way. A lot of these villains actually did everything right. They planned ahead. They understood the world. They adapted. Think of Lord Shen from Kung Fu Panda. Shen didn't just wake up one day and decide to be evil. He studied the future, got warned about a warrior of black and white, and instead of laughing it off like most villains would, he took it seriously. He acted early. Too early, actually. He wiped out the pandas because, from his point of view, that was the logical move. Cruel. Absolutely. Dumb? Not even close. He also wasn't reckless. Even when Po showed up, Shen didn't panic. He retreated, regrouped, upgraded. He listened to his failures and adjusted. That alone already puts him above most villains. So why did he lose? Well, it's definitely not because his plan was flawed. His cannons worked. His strategy worked. His understanding of fear worked. Shen lost because the story decided that inner peace beats artillery, which honestly doesn't make any sense. Suddenly, Po could deflect cannonballs, not because Shen's weapon stopped being lethal, but because Po unlocked a spiritual upgrade at the exact moment the plot needed it. And Shen, he doesn't get an upgrade. He doesn't get a second prophecy or a moment of clarity that saves him. When his plan fails, the universe doesn't bend to give him a new path. That's the real tragedy of being a villain. Also, for a while, the movie even lets you believe they're going to win. But then something strange happens. The hero survives something they shouldn't. A perfect plan suddenly falls apart. Luck replaces logic. And the villain starts realizing that no matter how good they are, they're fighting something they can't see. The script. Now, before this turns into a comment section war, let's be clear, DreamWorks movies are great. Their villains are iconic. Some of the most memorable animated antagonists ever come from the studio. That's not a flaw. That's exactly why being one of them is so painful. Because DreamWorks has a habit of making villains who feel real. They're smart, driven, and competent enough that you can actually imagine them winning. And once that happens, the story has to work overtime to stop them. Another victim of this is Pitch Black. And he might be the best example of a villain who basically already won. Pitch wasn't trying to conquer kingdoms or overthrow governments. His entire existence was built on something far more fundamental.
Maybe I want what you have. To be believed in.
And unlike most villains, fear wasn't just his weapon. It was his ecosystem. As long as people were afraid of the dark, Pitch existed. And yeah, keeping that existence was what he thrived to do. I mean, who would want to die? His plans were simple. He didn't attack the Guardians directly at first. He went for their source of power, belief. He corrupted dreams, spread nightmares, and slowly made children stop believing, not just in the Guardians, but in hope itself. No belief meant no power. No power meant the Guardians were finished. And for a while, it worked perfectly. He even almost killed the Sandman. He also thought things through before acting. Pitch waited. He observed. He adapted. When fear alone wasn't enough, he used manipulation. He exploited Jack Frost's loneliness, his confusion. He didn't underestimate Jack. He understood him. And honestly, he was right about a lot of things. And by the midpoint of the movie, Pitch has almost everything he wants. But then Pitch loses because the story introduces a new rule. Belief can be reignited instantly, everywhere, all at once, as long as the hero believes in himself hard enough. Suddenly, kids who were terrified moments ago snap out of it. Suddenly, belief floods back faster than fear ever spreads. Yeah, I can see the writers removing logic at this point. Pitch's entire foundation collapses in minutes, not through strategy, but through emotional momentum. That's honestly not fair at all. One of the worst parts about being a DreamWorks villain is watching the hero survive things you know would have ended anyone else. You land hits that worked on everyone before, but when it comes to them, it becomes completely different. You trap them, you overpower them, and somehow they keep going. I know that's the essence of being a hero, but come on, sometimes they don't really have a clear explanation. Not because they trained harder, not because they planned better, but because the story still needs them. The villain doesn't get that protection. When they mess up, it sticks. But when the hero messes up, it's called growth. The world bends one way, and never really the other. Another reason it sucks is that villains are never allowed to just win and leave. If a DreamWorks villain gets close to victory, the movie kind of slows down. The plot stretches, moments and decisions get delayed, so the hero gets time they didn't earn. time to stand back up, time to remember something important, time for help to arrive at exactly the right second. The villain isn't hesitating because it makes sense. They're hesitating because if they didn't, the movie would already be over. Think about Shen. He had multiple chances to eliminate Po, but didn't. Also Scar, who could have easily killed Simba with his own hands, but also didn't, and sent the hyenas instead, which failed. That's the quiet tragedy. The villain could end it. They're just not allowed to. Then, there's the issue of help. A lot of DreamWorks villains actually have solid plans, but those plans rely on other people, and those other people fail them constantly. Not because the villain chose badly, but because the story needs something to go wrong. Instructions get misunderstood, tasks don't get finished. Small mistakes turn into massive consequences. And once again, it all lands on the villain. Their intelligence doesn't matter. Their preparation doesn't matter. One weak link snaps, and everything collapses. But even if a villain survives all of that, there's something else waiting for them. The hero's emotional moment. DreamWorks loves giving its heroes a breakthrough right when all hope seems lost. A realization, a lesson, a sudden calm, and the villain becomes the backdrop for that moment. They stop being an opponent and turn into a test. No matter how terrifying or capable they were before, they now exist only to prove that the hero has changed. That's not a fair fight at all. What makes this worse is that DreamWorks villains often aren't wrong. Yes, they can be extreme, they're ruthless, but their understanding of the world is usually sharper than the heroes. They see systems as broken. They see power as something you take, not wait for. They understand consequences. The hero learns these things slowly. The villain already knows them. And instead of being challenged on ideas, the villain gets removed, not disproven. Removed, meaning they don't get to change. They often end up dying. And that's the real reason it sucks to be a DreamWorks villain. You can be smarter, you can be stronger, you can be right about your actions. But you're not the one the story's about. You don't always get defeated by the hero. You were beaten by the ending.